Welcome to Presentation, Ponder, Practice. The analogy of the Christian life as a race gives way to real combat in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 4. You have not yet resisted as far as blood in your striving against sin, the author said. The readers are informed they have not suffered as Christ suffered. They had not lost their lives for defending against sin or sinners. The term blood in the Bible, as here, has the meaning of a violent death. These Christians had not endured to the point where people killed them for their faith. The author wrote, "And you have forgotten," as in forgotten altogether, "the exhortation which is addressed to you as sons." Sons is an important concept that will continue throughout the chapter. The conjunction "and" at the beginning of the verse is often omitted by modern translations because there's no real connection between verses 4 and 5. The forgotten exhortation was words that challenge people to have courage and calls them to action. The point being, they needed to endure God's discipline as witnessed in the Proverbs 3 verses 11 and 12 quotation. "My son, do not disregard or do not regard lightly the discipline of the Lord, nor faint when you are reproved by him. For those whom the Lord loves, he disciplines, and he scourges every son whom he receives." The scripture encourages the reader to pay attention to the discipline of the Lord. The term discipline covers everything about raising a child: training, instruction, correction, and punishment. However, punishment is not the focus, though it is included. The next part of the exhortation is to not give out or become weary when exposed for doing wrong and reproved for doing wrong. The reason they should not give out is given as to why they should not when receiving divine discipline. He said, "For those whom the Lord loves, he disciplines, and he scourges every son whom he receives or accepts." It is for discipline that you endure. It's literally in the text, "For discipline endure." The next statement expands the first. It says God deals with you as with sons. The reader is instructed to consider the suffering that they endure as being like a son suffering because of the way his father corrects him. The final statement of verse 7 is a rhetorical question based on the conclusion of statements 1 and 2. For what son is there whom his father does not discipline? It is normal that a son be corrected by his father. Further implication is written in verse 8. "But if you are without discipline, of which all have become partakers, then you are," suggesting the writer had some specific people in mind at that time, "illegitimate children and not sons." Concerning human fathers, the author wrote, "Furthermore, we had earthly fathers, fathers of our flesh, to discipline us, and we respected them." Respected carries the idea of having respect for and submitting to the one who disciplines. Acknowledging this truth, the question is raised, shall we not much rather be subject to the Father of spirits and live? The Father of spirits indicates the Father of our spirits. Submission to our spiritual Father's discipline should be certain and allow us to be in a good relationship with God. For they, the earthly fathers, disciplined for a short time as seemed best to them, but he for good, so that we may share his holiness. Hebrews 12 verse 10. For a short time is literally few days. The short time of discipline received from fathers of flesh is done according to what they think is best. It's contrasted with God's discipline, which is done for our own good and lasts much longer. In part, earthly fathers discipline for their benefit, to get better behavior out of us. But God disciplines so that we may share in His holiness, making us holy as He is holy, or participating in His perfection of us. Verse 11 consists of a common saying in New Testament times and a contrasting statement. All discipline for the moment seems not to be joyful, but sorrowful. The effect of discipline at the time is not pleasant. Yet to those who have been trained by it, in contrast, afterwards yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness. This statement is the conclusion to the section and a summary of what's been said. Divine discipline shows that wrong has been done. Discipline pays back or repays with peaceful fruit of righteousness. People trained by discipline come to think of punishment as being a good thing, which brought them to do what is right. Think of a young person becoming of age and becoming a young adult or a parent themselves. The reward of living is peace and living in righteousness. Therefore, starting a new thought at verse 12, which ushers in some imperatives on how to live. Straighten up or strengthen the hands that are weak and the knees that are feeble or weak or paralyzed is the first imperative. The next imperative is to make straight paths, neither crooked nor rough, for your feet, so that the limb which is lame may not be put out of joint. The author does not want the abnormal physical condition to get worse, but rather to be healed. The original readers of the letter to the Hebrews had not suffered as Christ suffered. Divine discipline corrects. God, our Father, disciplines us, therefore, and disciplines all believers, like an earthly father disciplines his children. Solomon wrote about such discipline in Proverbs 3, verses 11 and 12, which they seem to have forgotten altogether. Believers are to respond positively to discipline. Do not ignore the Lord's discipline. Do not be discouraged when He disciplines you. Rather, remember that God is treating you like His own child or His own children. Through God's discipline, He shows us we are His children and He loves us. It is discipline that produces righteousness and peace in our lives. Therefore, get a new grip on your hands, stand firm with your knees, and make the path for your feet straight and smooth. May God bless you with divine discipline, which directs you to holy living that results in great reward.